Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today we're traveling to the very end of the world, to the windswept subpolar islands of Tierra del Fuego at the southern tip of South America. This is where, for centuries, a creature unlike any other lived alongside the indigenous Yaghan and Selknam peoples. It's known as the Fuegian dog, but that name is a bit of a misnomer. This animal wasn't really a dog, nor was it a wolf. It was something far more unusual, a domesticated fox. Its story is a lost chapter in the history of animal domestication, a fascinating and ultimately tragic tale of companionship, survival, and extinction that continues to puzzle scientists to this day. It vanished from the Earth in the early 20th century, its fate tangled with the brutal colonization that befell its human partners. So, what exactly was this animal? And how did this unique bond between human and fox come to such an abrupt and heartbreaking end? The quest for answers begins with a fundamental zoological puzzle. For decades, the true identity of the Fuegian dog was a complete mystery, debated by scientists and described with confusion by early explorers. French navigator Louis-Ferdinand Marchal, on an expedition in 1883, called it ugly. With long tawny hair and a sharp snout, it looks quite like a fox. An Anglo-Argentine explorer named Lucas Bridges, who grew up among the Fuegians, gave a more evocative, if equally perplexing, description, calling it a stunted cross between an Alsatian police dog and a wolf. These conflicting accounts highlight just how ambiguous this animal was, blurring the lines between wild and domestic. For a long time, the leading theory was that the Fuegian dog was a domesticated version of the colpeo, a large fox-like canid native to the Andes. Now, the colpeo itself is interesting. While it looks like a red fox, genetically it's not a true fox. It's actually more closely related to wolves and jackals. Think of it as a South American cousin to the wolf. This theory got a massive boost in 2013 when scientists analyzed hair from a preserved, taxidermied Fuegian dog specimen. The DNA results were stunning. The creature's genes were a 97.57% match to the colpeo, but only an 88.93% match to domestic dogs. This was groundbreaking. It suggested that thousands of years ago, long after our ancestors had domesticated wolves in Eurasia, a completely separate and independent domestication event occurred in South America, with a totally different animal. The people of Tierra del Fuego had seemingly tamed a fox. However, science rarely settles on a simple answer. A more recent review in 2023 added another layer of complexity. Researchers proposed that there might not have been one, but two distinct types of native dogs in the region. The first, the Patagonian dog, was associated with the inland Selknam people and was likely this domesticated colpeo. But the second, the Fuegian dog of the coastal Yaghan people, might have been descended from an entirely different lineage, an ancestral domestic dog that traveled with the first humans across the Bering Strait into the Americas. Some historical accounts seem to back this up, describing dogs of different sizes and colors used for different jobs. One smaller, lighter-colored dog was used to hunt small rodents called tuco-tucos, while a larger, darker dog helped hunt guanacos, which are relatives of the llama. To make it even more complicated, many researchers believe the Fuegian dog was never fully domesticated in the way we think of our golden retrievers. Instead, it likely existed in a state of semi-domestication, as a semi-tame companion. This wasn't a master-pet relationship. It was a partnership, a mutually beneficial alliance between two species trying to survive in one of the world's harshest environments. This would explain its wild, independent nature, which we'll get into shortly. So what we're looking at is a zoological enigma, possibly a domesticated fox, possibly a mix of different canid types, existing in a unique twilight zone between wild and tame. So what did this enigmatic creature actually look like? Based on the few surviving museum specimens and historical drawings, we can piece together a striking image. The Fuegian dog had sharp, erect ears, a pointed fox-like snout, and a thick bushy tail. Its coat was long and typically a tawny reddish-brown color, though some accounts mention all white individuals. In terms of size, it was about the same as its wild ancestor, the culpeo, weighing between 11 and 30 pounds, or 5 to 13.5 kilograms. That puts it roughly in the same class as a modern Shetland sheepdog. Local gauchos, the cowboys of the region, apparently called them maned dogs because of their thick fur, reminiscent of the maned wolf. But its appearance is only half the story. Its temperament is where the real contradictions lie. On one hand, these animals were deeply woven into the fabric of family life. This wasn't just a working animal kept outside. The Yaghan language, for example, contains over 160 distinct words and phrases related to the Fuegian dog, which speaks volumes about its cultural importance. They weren't just dogs, they had a rich identity within the culture. Most intimately, they were known to curl up with their human families, especially the children, inside their small, crowded huts. In a place as cold as Tierra del Fuego, this was a vital source of warmth. In fact, they were sometimes described as heating furniture for the indigenous peoples. Imagine a living, breathing, furry hot water bottle. This paints a picture of a close, gentle companion. But on the other hand, many accounts describe the Fuegian dog as aloof, independent, and distinctly disloyal. Julius Popper, a Romanian-Argentine explorer who was horrifically involved in the Selknam genocide, wrote dismissively of them. He said, "I never saw them, no matter how large their number, take an aggressive attitude or defend their masters when these were in danger." This wasn't the heroic, protective dog of European stories. This aloofness is a key piece of evidence for the semi-domestication theory. They were partners, not property. They weren't bred for traits like unwavering loyalty or protectiveness. Their wild instincts were still very much intact. Some accounts go even further, portraying them as aggressive and dangerous, especially towards the livestock that European settlers began introducing in the late 19th century. The Anglican missionary Thomas Bridges, who otherwise had a close relationship with the Yaghan, claimed in the 1880s that the dogs were attacking his mission's goats. This alleged ferocity, whether real or exaggerated, would later be used as a justification for their extermination, sealing their fate. So you have this creature of contradictions, a gentle living blanket for children on one night, and a wild, independent hunter the next day. The Fuegian dog was far more than a pet or a source of warmth. It was an essential working partner, and its skills were crucial for human survival in Tierra del Fuego. Its keen hunting instincts, inherited from its culpeo ancestors, were expertly channeled by the Yaghan and Selknam people. One of their primary roles was hunting marine otters along the rugged coastline. Charles Darwin himself, during his famous voyage on the HMS Beagle in the 1830s, was told by a Yaghan boy how the dogs were used to track and corner these valuable animals. The hunters would then move in for the kill. But their most remarkable skill was something almost unheard of for a canid. They were used for fishing. Accounts describe an incredible cooperative effort where the dogs would swim into the water and help corral schools of fish, driving them towards nets that their human companions had set up. Think about that for a moment. A semi-wild, fox-like creature, actively herding fish in cold coastal waters. This level of cooperation is a testament to the unique and sophisticated bond that had been forged over countless generations. It was a perfect example of a mutually beneficial relationship. The dogs were given food, shelter from the brutal weather, and a place within the human family. In return, the humans gained a skilled hunting assistant and a living radiator against the subpolar cold. This partnership model, where humans and canids work together for survival, isn't entirely unique. We see it with sled dogs in the Arctic, for example. But the specific roles the Fuegian dog played, especially in fishing, and its origin as a domesticated fox, make it a truly special case. It was a crucial tool, a living technology that allowed the indigenous peoples of the region to thrive in an environment that many would consider uninhabitable. The extinction of the Fuegian dog is a story of cultural collapse, ecological disruption, and immense tragedy. Its demise is inseparable from the fate of the indigenous peoples who lived with it. The arrival of European colonists and ranchers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries was catastrophic. The Selknam people were victims of a brutal genocide, hunted down by ranchers and gold prospectors. Both the Selknam and the Yaghan were decimated by diseases to which they had no immunity. As their numbers dwindled, the unique culture that had nurtured the Fuegian dog for centuries began to unravel. The new European ranchers introduced sheep and goats, which completely changed the ecological landscape. The Fuegian dogs, with their powerful hunting instincts, were accused of preying on this new, easy source of food. As a result, settlers began hunting, trapping, and poisoning the Fuegian dogs en masse, viewing them as pests that threatened their livelihood. But the final, most heartbreaking chapter of their extinction may have been written by the Fuegian people themselves. In 1919, a Silesian missionary named Martin Gusind visited one of the last remaining Yaghan communities. He was an anthropologist at heart and was there to document their culture before it vanished. He was surprised to find that there were no dogs left. When he asked what had happened to them, the local people told him a shocking story. They said that they, the Yaghan, had been forced to kill their own animal companions. Why? Because the dogs had become dangerous to men and cattle. Researchers now theorize that this was not because the dogs had suddenly turned on them. It's believed to have been a desperate, last-ditch act of survival to appease the violent European settlers and stop the constant persecution and murder of their own people. The Yaghan may have made an unthinkable sacrifice. They eliminated their dogs to eliminate the source of conflict. They sacrificed their ancient partners to try and save themselves. By the early 1920s, it was over. The Fuegian dog was extinct. Its disappearance marked the end of a unique evolutionary and cultural experiment, a partnership between humans and a domesticated fox that had endured for generations, snuffed out in just a few decades. Today, the Fuegian dog is a ghost. It exists only as a handful of taxidermied specimens in museums in Chile and Argentina, in the faded photographs and drawings of early explorers, and in the enduring mystery of its story. It stands as a powerful symbol of the profound connections that can form between humans and the animal world. But it's also a monument to the devastating and irreversible consequences of colonization and cultural destruction. When the indigenous cultures of Tierra del Fuego were shattered, the world lost more than just a group of people. We lost their languages, their knowledge, and the unique animals that were intertwined with their existence. The story of the Fuegian dog continues to fascinate scientists. Research is ongoing, using advanced genetic techniques on the few remaining specimens. Perhaps one day soon, whole genome sequencing will give us a definitive answer to its taxonomic identity. Was it purely a domesticated culpeo? Was it a mix? Was it a surviving lineage of ancient American dogs? The science may yet solve the puzzle. In the more speculative corners of science, there is even talk of de-extinction or resurrecting the Fuegian dog through retroselection, selectively breeding culpeos or other canids that carry similar genetic traits to try and bring back a creature that resembles it. Whether this is possible, or even ethical, is a debate for another day. For now, the tale of the Fuegian dog is a poignant reminder of a lost world. It's a story about the ingenuity of people adapting to their environment, about the complex and varied ways humans have partnered with other species, and about the irreplaceable loss that occurs when those unique bonds are broken. The mystery of the domesticated fox from the end of the world is a compelling and cautionary tale, a chapter in the history of domestication that was brutally cut short, leaving us all to wonder what might have been. Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online.